So whenever you make a title like that, it's probably going to come across as clickbait, but this is actually very real. Final Fantasy XIV, it did save my life. But before people think I'm doing this video to garner sympathy or something like that, that's not at all what this video is. Plus I'm going to get into why that isn't even really a thing. Especially as someone who has experienced that that's not even a thing, me seeking that would be stupid. That's not how that works. But I'm coming across a few huge life events that are coming up pretty soon, such as my birthday. And yeah, sure, I'm in my 20s, big whoop. But it is a landmark for me, and I'm planning to do content like launch my website and streaming, and while that might be insignificant to a lot of other people, it is huge to me. It is so big to me. And before I really did any of that, I wanted to take a moment. But just to be clear, this isn't a sad video. This is my personal celebration. You're not going to hear crying. You're not going to hear tears. This is my celebration. I am so happy about this. And as you guys could tell in the new rebooted New Player Guide Reborn series, I'm actually in high spirits. So this isn't some sad thing, so don't worry about that. But this video, selfish. It's for me. I'm planting a flag in the ground and making it tangible for myself. This isn't going to be some sad mopey wopey woe is me video. It's the opposite. I've been through some brutal shit that honestly I don't think anyone other than my mom, dad, and sister had faith that I'd even be here today. And yet, here I am. The first thing is Evyx. Why that name? That's the name I personally identify with now because the guy that I used to be died. This channel is my act of defiance to say, fuck all of that. I'm gonna live again and spit in the face of everything and everyone that I've been through. And so the old me, the legal name me, that me, really, honestly, I'm gonna be blunt with you, is dead. And I decided that it's really my time to do my Hail Mary and start a brand new chapter of my life as Evyx. In this video, it's my own personal celebration. Scroll back many, many years. I was in my first degree and not... I initially wasn't looking to do a huge swap, but it came to shove. Things got really real when the acceptance letters came in, and I was looking to do a huge swap. I was honestly losing my faith in being able to successfully pursue a degree. Not a degree. Heaven knows I could get the degree easily, but a career as a physician. And it's not because of GPA or essays or MCAT. Those are more than fine. And that's not a bragging point. It's just like, you know what, if you study all that time, you're going to get pretty good. But instead, because I had just done so much volunteer work in hospitals and I emotionally couldn't cope with the suffering I saw. I was crushed, and I would often come home like crying, literally crying, after I saw a patient that just wasn't there anymore. And Too Long Didn't Read version is eventually it would go down the grapevine. They didn't make it. Yes, even the volunteers heard about that. And repeat that a few hundred times, and the helplessness and the futility really kicks in. The existential dread, the acknowledgement of death, it really sets in quick. Not to mention things like neuropathic pain or the slow descent into loss of cognitive functioning through things like dementia, commonly Alzheimer's, but obviously anyone who studied dementia knows that it comes in many other flavors too. But also sometimes, like, you get someone who came in there with a few too many blows to the head over the course of their lifetime, and then you'd notice, oh wow, they have like severe cognitive impairment. Or try explaining stroke. Yeah, that is a tough one, and I saw it often. You see some people, like people with TIAs, oh my god, transient ischemic attacks that would bounce back, and then half a year later you'd see them in the ER again. This time, not bouncing back. But long story short, because I could go on and on about that, I had to make a change because, yeah, people say, oh, you aren't cut out for medicine. You know what? That might have hurt me 10 years ago or whatever, but you're right. You're right. And most people meant it in a snide way, like you're stupid. It meant GPA. But you know what? The GPA was the easy part. Imagining a life of every single day of that for like 40, heaven knows how much physicians are overworked, so more than 40 hours a week. And imagining that for 40, 50, however many years, I couldn't do it. I couldn't bear that thought. Things get very real very fast when you have letters come in and you're looking into financing for medical schools in the States. So I decided to make the swap, and really this is where I can point to 14 being a huge crutch that I relied on. I came home, cracked open video games just to get through it, because that was a huge decision, and I was a turbulent storm in myself. I remember I would listen to like songs like Marina and the Diamonds, Mowgli's Road, and I'd be like, oh my god, I'm literally on Mowgli's Road. Like it just felt like the song for me at that time. It really provided me an outlet where I could just let it go. I could just finally let go, be calm, be fine and safe. And in a really warped way, it was also intensely cathartic to heal something like Twintania back in the day, because I felt like I was healing people, helping people. Obviously different, duh, don't meme on me, I get it. Like, I know that's not real life things, okay, I get it. But in my little brain, it felt cathartic, it felt good. That's around the time when I decided why not incorporate software? Why not bastardize software? Really to bring that into, like, the medical stuff. That's something that I was and am still very passionate about, which my passions, which were neuroscience, or rather are still neuroscience. Like, I'll just go a rolling list off of what I did. I did tons of pharmacology. I publications of pharmacology, anatomy, which included actual human cadaver anatomy, where I went in myself to make prosections and learn off of donor bodies, and then make prosections eventually that like would teach medical students. Which, for the record, that is an experience that is like a once in a lifetime experience for so many people, which I am intensely grateful for and will never forget. And obviously, like neuroscience. But I made the pivot, and all of a sudden, friends who liked me and I thought that I could trust turned their back on me. And again, not gonna get emotional. Don't worry about that. But I remember that there was one girl who spread across Facebook Cole the Troll, and then my last name I'm desperately trying to avoid here, across Facebook. And that was devastating. That was so crushing. Oh my god, that was so crushing. And the rumors, the gossip, the hatred, it was really swallowing me up inside. And I already was uncertain with my decision, but then on top of that, you felt the feeling of the weight of expectations of friends and family, and it was pushing me to an edge. I remember I actually brought this up, this feeling of uncomfort, to one of the lab techs, because when I was still working in the anatomy lab, I really felt unsafe, and to this day, I stand behind that. I didn't feel safe. When you have people you considered friends dumping on you here and there, and you don't know what's going on, and it's just like, oh my god, it was so much. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel welcome. I felt horrible. And the end result was, obviously, like, I was kicked out of there. I mean, the squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease. The squeaky wheel gets removed. Welcome to life. But it was like, that was a part of my life I really want to keep doing, especially going into the computing science degree, it's like I wanted to take that forward with me. And God, you know what? I really want to take that forward to me. It mattered to me. And so losing that was painful. Cole the Disappointment. It's funny because I've wanted to sing songs that I've written about myself being a disappointment, and there's a lot. Like Tom MacDonald is someone that I'm a huge fan of, and their style, and yeah, I just vibe with this music. God, I said I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm not. Don't worry about that. This is not gonna be a tearful video. But Tom MacDonald's, a lot of his videos resonated with me at a level that a lot of other music just can't. It's just like, people are like, oh, blah, blah, I listen to like Lady Gaga or whatever. I don't care about Lady Gaga. I listen to Tom MacDonald. But honestly, if you are looking for the biggest disappointment that never lived up to anyone's expectations, hi, I guess you're listening to him. Or maybe you've already clicked off. That wouldn't be a surprise. But I'm honestly the biggest fucking disappointment on this planet. At least, how to say that? At this point of my life, I really died inside. And what I would do to keep my mind from spinning was I'd go home and I'd raid in Final Fantasy XIV. I'd spam dungeons, I'd grind out the relic weapons. People ask me so often, why do you hunt all of the relic weapons? And you know what? I'm gonna be blunt with you. Farming them out kept me distracted from the endless well of misery. And it was all I could really do. That was the one place of agency that I really had. Final Fantasy XIV kept me sane and filled that void. The worst times was when I had nothing to do, and 14 was the solution. During this time of crisis, because I was a turbulent storm, that was so much weight and so much pain to deal with, but during this time of crisis, and I mean it, crisis for sure, I met a guy who was beautiful. He was like 6'5", he had beautiful beard, brilliantly big eyes, muscular, and just said everything right. Everything he said made me feel good. He was so intensely and remarkably amazing, and I fell in love instantly with this man. It was so quick, because you know what? When you are at a vulnerable period of your life, you are so open to that, and I was very vulnerable. And I just fell instantly in love. And he said he'd support me, that he'd love me, that he'd keep me safe, that I was valid, that I was okay, that I deserved to keep going, that I was making the right decisions. The reaffirmation I needed, and the strength that I needed to have at that time. I proceeded to be fully SA'd. And, For those who don't mean it, I mean like non-consensually. I can't say the word. You know I can't say the word, but you know what I mean. And it wasn't just once. I make the joke of, haha, I was so good you couldn't just leave it at once, you had to do it twice. I have to cope with it with dark humor somehow, guys. I mean, it is what it is. But I went home covered with bruises across my body, and I even mean my neck too. It was terrible. And the worst part was my already collapsing social network was being further destroyed because in my opinion, the gossip, the rumors, the slandering of my name, the nasty remarks and vile, hateful vitriol slammed down on me, and it was like the whore who left medicine. I'm just gonna say it. The whore who left medicine. I wasn't cool to disappointment anymore. I was the whore who left medicine. This is something that if you said it to me, wouldn't even faze me in person anymore. It was said so often. It's just like, okay, if you said that, it's just like, whatever. But that was in December. This essay, this non-consensual SAR, happened in December right around final exams. And these final exams would be the final exams that I applied for my second degree in computing science with. I'm going to be blunt, I didn't have time to process those emotions, I didn't have the ability to, and it took a very long time to even start opening that door. I was already shuffling computing science courses into my first degree, trying to prove myself. I was quote-unquote gaming the system, I guess. And at that time, I would be like, God help me. I'd scream at the top of my lungs, God help me through this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I'm breaking. I am crumbling. God help me. I can't do this. Help me. And I managed to get a GPA of like 3.9 that semester. So yeah, I'd say pull through. I'd say that happened. And late that summer in August, I got my acceptance letter into computing science. And I guess I convocated too, but reality is, you want to know the truth? I have never attended a single convocation of mine. Not a single grad ceremony, not a single after grad thing. Never went to a single one. Not for either of them. Now I was in that degree successfully, and that was tough. The worst part was having no social network or connections. I had no friends I could connect with. I felt like an alien, out of place and out of touch, who just didn't get it. I knew that I just didn't click. And that, coupled with the nasty comments that I'd get, was so brutal. And it's just like, because you know what, of course, shit had to kept being slung at me. And so my favorite was that I'm a used empty pop can that had all the good drink out of it, and now it's been thrown on the ground. That's a good one. And I'm trying to avoid the details because this video would easily be over an extra 4 hours longer than it is. But the amount of pain that I went through from the trauma, from the destruction of my friendships and everything, I think the easiest way to describe it was I felt like a zombie. Like I had already died. What the heck? Why am I still around? It was so weird. And that it's going to be very metaphorical, but that I just lay down in bed, and it was almost like my coffin was being lowered into the ground with the dirt slowly crumbling down through the cracks where the sunlight was through, and it was just filling the coffin. And it didn't matter, though, how loudly at that time I screamed or beat against the walls around me. No one cared. No one would listen. I was alone, and I was completely and utterly alone as I was being buried. And my voice, no one could hear me. It was stifled out, and I was suffocating under the pressure. But earlier, I mentioned how sympathy towards this isn't a logical motivator. That's what, like, anyone saying this video is for sympathy? No. You're getting the wrong person, because you know what? I lived this. I'm someone who has been through it. I reached out so many times at that time and begged for help that I couldn't even try to recall how many times I did that. And all I got was told that it can't happen to dudes. I was told that I was lucky that he took the time to do it and took the chance on me, and that I was asking for it, that I'm a cliche, that I'm too gay to not report. And the only time that someone would really show empathy would be when they had something to gain from me. That is what I have noticed. I remember one woman who reached out that was very excited at first, really excited, and posted all over social media about how they were supporting me and how happy they were to be supporting it. Hashtag LGBTQ and victim ally, oh my god! And they did this until, and my memory might be mixing it up, but until they got flack because I'm a guy, and apparently that can't happen to me according to their social circle or whatever, and especially being a white guy apparently. And it was just like, okay, so apparently that can't happen to me. Sorry, I just buried my face in my hands. Apparently that can't happen to me. And then all those posts seem to just suddenly stop. I don't know if that I'm remembering it exactly correctly, but that is what I kind of remembered, like vaguely. Was like the post eventually just stopped. And the irony is, guess how many times they hashtag reached out to help in LGBTQ plus or met me in real life. Like, how many times do you think that they actually met with me face to face in person? 0 is the amount of times that they reached out to help after that initial thing, and 0 times they met me in real life. They just had an initial, very brief, very excited conversation to me. Then they immediately took to social media in a storm, and I was really their token victim to just show how holier than thou they were. I was just a tool that was being used. My crushing life experience I went through was a tool for these people to use to show how virtuous and kind they were, when in reality offering no peace, no solutions, and no actual help. And so this same person I am thinking of actually went onto my Facebook page, and I know for a fact this happened. This is so clear in my memory, so vivid. But they went onto my Facebook page when I made a sad post, which was something I tended to do. I mean, that's not that uncommon or unheard of. When you're suffering from PTSD and having breakdowns crying, you know what? That was how I leaked it out. And you know what? Rarely did anyone really acknowledge it. But I remember that they publicly posted on my posts saying something to the effect of like, I'm a toxic male, that I'm toxic, that I'm disgusting, that I'm a burden on everyone, and my negativity and toxicity is so gross, and just tore into me publicly, and it was humiliating. It was really humiliating, and it was at that point, you know what, yeah, screw Facebook, I don't use that garbage anymore, or connect to anyone from there anymore. I use it explicitly the messenger so that I can keep tabs with my raid group. Aside from that, Facebook can be pitched into a fucking fire. I'm done. Or what about people that allegedly was friends with the man that R'd me, that found my Reddit posts begging and pleading for help on how to move on? And yeah, you know what, I also went to subreddits because you know what, when you have no one to talk to, you need some kind of outlet. And so it's just like, I don't really blame myself for that, but they found me. There was so many like ominous, like veiled, like consequences of things, and it terrified me, and obviously I destroyed that Reddit account. And it was just terrifying. I destroyed that Reddit account, I destroyed my Tumblr, I destroyed every account on social media that I really had. It was like, don't find me, don't contact me, don't look at me, stay away from me. I burned it all to the ground. Which really brings me to that reason being the reason I still haven't streamed in spite of having a camera and the equipment, is because I was truly horrified, genuinely horrified at the thought of anyone in my past ever seeing me. It's been so long, I haven't been a part of their lives. I look more mature, obviously it's been a little while, and it just was, but the fear was there, the trauma and the fear was there, where it's just like, I don't want you to see me, I don't want to hear from you, I don't want you to see me, I don't want them anywhere near me. And I've been truly mortified, and I can think of few things that I want less than them to ever even know I exist, let alone remember my name. It's just like, it's been so long, good chance they don't, but it scared me. If you're in my past and you have somehow stumbled across this video and you don't know who I am, don't reach out. Don't reach out. I am editing this in. Don't reach out. I don't want to know you. And I swear, the only thing that kept me sane and going was gaming. And Final Fantasy XIV in particular really stands out. Its raids and people letting me decorate their houses because I didn't have a house at that time really fueled my fire. Me wanting to learn more jobs and more relics and just glamour and all these different systems in the game. The gold saucer, like or the achievements, quests, it was the backdrop really, and it kept me going and being able to keep my head down during this time. And obviously I'm going to be skipping details because some of this stuff gets so painful, but let's just zip ahead. And I finally came to my first job, and I loved it because it finally felt like I could do something. I could make an impact. My words in a text editor were literally able to make things happen. I was taught things like reinforcement learning by the father of reinforcement learning, and I felt for the first time in so painfully bitterly of a long time, I had a sense of agency. I could make something happen. And then the contract ran out, and I was back at school again wrapping up that degree. No job, no money. Eventually, when I made it to the end of that degree, I remember I was at the second floor of the university gym and that I was talking to a professor who was in very high regard, and he knew me from office hours. I definitely talked to him. My background was interesting because we shared a similar, very unique background in computing, and he asked me about continuing school, meaning graduate school, obviously. And I wasn't able to take him up on that offer because of serious pressure in my real life to quote unquote move forward with my life. I'm gonna be blunt with you. I wasn't able to do it, and it probably right now is the biggest regret of my life. And again, I said I wouldn't get emotional in this video, so I'm not. But the point is, like, I lost my passion. And see, I'm talking right now. Now I suck at timelines, okay, guys? But I'm talking right now about the present. I lost my passion. I lost my passion because science was now out of my grasp. Currently, it is out of my grasp, and I was forced to make basic create, read, update, delete applications just to be laid off when the project's done and left for dead every single time. And I think every time I turn the corner and think that I might have some stability in my life, it was always torn away. That has been the theme of this. I'm not even going to get into the specifics because each and every single time it was so painful. And now, right now, today, I'm not even a scientist. I'm a fake. I'm a disappointment. I'm a loser. I'm a Charlotte. And I am a feral animal just trying to figure out this insane life between pandemics, death of family members that even today are in the hospital at 70 pounds, but I'm horrified at the thought of losing. I can't get my footing. But telling that professor who is a leader in AI ML that I couldn't go back to school, oh god damn it, it kills me inside. And it was tough. Sorry, now I'm mad. You're not getting sad, you're getting mad, which I'm gonna try and tone that down. But it was tough because that meant that I held this opportunity in my hands and that I had to kill my plans, that opportunity to go to graduate school, to become an actual scientist that I want to be. And I worked fucking harder. Oh god. But I worked harder to do it and try and make things happen, and I thought I was moving forward with my life. I thought I was making the right decision, and I fucking didn't. Which is why Namit has now just completed his doctorate, and while I feel immense pride, do not twist this. I will defend that man to the death of me and beyond. I cannot help but see myself and feel like an abject failure every time I look at him and feel the weight of my life choices follow me like a stack of bricks. It's funny because it's just like he says, I hate the insecurity, you're amazing and impressive. But he is the scientist. He's an actual scientist. And he's actually doing really fucking badass shit. And I'm the one that would have also been, but I was too dumb to, like, seize that opportunity. And I have regrets before the age of 30 that would probably crush anyone like a tin can sinking to the bottom of the ocean. The pressure as you go deeper just got so heavy and thick. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, reeling it back. After our experience with the man that R'd me twice in one go, after a little while, after a decent while, I met a man who, again, I thought was a good guy. Fast forward a bit, probably like 2-ish years, things, quote unquote, just didn't work out. 2-ish, 3-ish, something like that. And this is cutting out a hell of a lot of pain, but you know what, I ain't going there. But the reason it didn't work out, in my opinion, which you know what, I'm not stupid and I saw what I saw. In my opinion, I was being cheated on, in my opinion, since November of 2018 by him. Him living on his own townhouse, he stopped having me there, started yelling at me, started fighting, started breaking things. He'd threaten things like, oh, you're only allowed this or that, you aren't allowed this or that. And it's just like, I have like a collection of like things of mine, and he's just like, oh, well, if I can't crush them in that, I'm literally throwing it out. Or he'd force me to sit in his car with no AC on, and like it wasn't even running, like the car, he took the keys and all that, as he ran into old folks' homes to see his grandfather. And then when he got back, he would yell at me and complain when I said, I know the symptoms of heat stroke. I have got heat stroke because you just left me in a boiling hot car in the middle of a parking lot in the sun with no AC. And it's just like, I know I have heat stroke. Stop and let me lay down at your place, because it was like an hour from like mine. And I was yelled at for that. Or I was also yelled at if I wasn't sure what was going on to like arrive at a particular location, and I was like scared. And I mean, as someone who's been through what I've been through and trauma, if I'm in an area that I'm not super familiar with or around people that I'm not super familiar with, yeah, I'm gonna be a little nervous and I'm gonna reach out to someone that I assume has my corner. Being yelled at, I can clearly tell years later, he wasn't in my corner. But I still loved him, and I was 100% absolutely, you know what? It makes me so mad to say it, but it's just like going to like therapy and everything. It's just like, yeah, you know what? I've talked to enough therapists that, yeah, I was absolutely 100% that cliche partner that just gets stripped down and hurt. But I loved him and I overlooked it all, and you know what? It sucks. But what made it ultimately not work out was I was laid off of my job that Wednesday, May 8th, 2019. He found out and broke up with me on that following Sunday, the Sunday right after. The layoff in and of itself crushed me because I worked hard. I worked extensive crunch hours to bring projects to fruition on a small dev team of like 3 people, and I was promised things like a pay evaluation 3 months into employment, and that is in the damn contract. And it was to boost me up to my full expected pay after that with the evaluation, which I was never given. Never. And it was like, because I was started off on a significantly lower pay than I was expecting, and it never happened. And then I was expecting bonuses for my hard work, but instead of even doing the pay evaluation that was like 9 months overdue, I was laid off after crunching a project. And with everything I went through in the past, the R twice, the whore who left medicine, the breakup, everything, I was done. It got to the point where it's just like, you know what? I'm not even 30 yet. I've seen enough. I've been through enough. How much can one person take? I was done. And that was my Hail Mary at the time. It was just to accept that I'd do boring create, read, update, delete applications, and that I'd forsake science, and that I'd live with this new guy who did at first treat me well. That's one thing I will say. He really did treat me well at first and was very supportive at first. But and I mean, objectively, he treated me better because since my last, he never R'd me, so yeah, he's better than my last before him. But everything that I've ever really tried to do has fallen apart in front of me or been stripped away and stolen. Cole the whore who left medicine, Cole the disappointment. These were things that I have had to like wear on my soul, like a tattoo on my soul. And so after everything, I just laid in my bed nonstop, and I'd say bawling my eyes out, but you know what? For someone who's actually been through it, people say bawling your eyes out. You know what? That's BS. Because you get to the point where even when you are at your saddest, you can't manage to cry. And I actually got to that point. I just couldn't cry. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't eat. I was starting to become emaciated. I couldn't even keep down the food that I would eat the rare times I'd get out. And it's like my mom would like bring down food for me, and I just no emotion. What happened there is I truly gave up. I was again alone. And see, again, even though I quote unquote moved on with my life, I had no friends. I had no family members that, or how to say it, I had like external family members that like despised me. I had my dad, my mom, my sister, that was it. I had no one that I could really relate to. And in fact, the introversion and trauma made it really hard to even connect or talk to people in game. I'm going to be honest, I still suffer from this lurker mentality. It's just like, who do you watch? Mr. Happy, Zepla, I watch Gerald, I watch just so many people. There are so many YouTube videos, and when I comment on these people's videos, with a rare time I do, it's just like I have literally been lurking and watching these people for fucking years, and then I have people say the audacity to say I'm clout chasing. No. I've been watching these people for years. I just don't participate because I'm so introverted. I lost my free company. I lost my connections. Everything just gone. I was literally just alone there in like my own little glacier, and I sat there in my bed dead. I was gone. There was no fight left to fight. No life left to live. You know that quote? There's no fight left to fight, no life to live? Remember that from 14? I used it over and over and over again the rare time I'd speak to someone. True story. Shadowbringers launched, and I don't even know what I felt. Was I excited? Not really. I was super bummed out because there wasn't a new healer, and I just kind of went through the motions, I guess, of that, like as a standard player. And it's just like people are going to be like, what? What do you mean? You expected me to say different? I'm just keeping it real here. I was not into it. But through going through the story of Shadowbringers, I remember that I would start crying because the story hit me on a level that I can't really convey properly, even through speech. I felt like it touched my soul, and it hurt. It hurt like so badly. And I remember I began crying again after so long of not crying, and putting on a hard face and saying, screw it all, screw everyone, screw you all, I hate you all, replace screw with F. And that wall began crumbling down, and oh, fuck, did that hurt. And then I remember I decided I want to level like all the jobs through Shadowbringers. I was going really back to my routine of just that I was always doing that whole time through the backdrop. It was grinding jobs, trying new raids, pugging things. I went back to extremes and grinded them, and all of this is solo. That's why when you look at my channel footage, you're gonna be like, where's the consistency? It's just like, yeah, like I was solo through all of that until like my static picked me up, and it's just like I met, like, I'm not even going to get into it because I don't know if they even want to be in this video, just ignore that. But I still talked to no one, and I was in a solo alone FC because I really just didn't want anyone to like bug me anymore. Being whispered in game, it used to really bother me, and it really hurt me and got me anxious, even though obviously, duh, no shoot, it's obvious they didn't intend that. But I was anxious to say the wrong things or offend someone or like hurt someone else's feelings, so it really made me nervous. And then I'd like reply, and then I'd like think for like ages, oh my god, did I say something offensive? But as anyone knows, if you don't have an FC, people will spam you with invites, whispers, not necessarily maliciously, but like that's exactly why I've never done that whispering spam, and I'm not about to with my FC. But it was really lonely. It was completely isolated. I was jobless. I was loveless. I was filled with trauma and a lot of hatred. Because yeah, I'm not gonna stand on a stupid soapbox or a pedestal and tell you that I was just sad and mopey. No, I was mad. I was so mad. I was filled with so much rage that after drinking the Kool-Aid that everyone was serving, telling me, do this, do that, you're gonna have a successful life, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have children, you're gonna have a white picket fence, and I was screwed over at every term. I was mad. And then I decided, enough. It was time to finally do a Hail Mary. And it's just like no jobs were interviewing for software devs under 5 years where I'm at. And it's still pretty much the same. And it's like I was spat on and told during interviews, I'd be lucky to even get minimum wage. We're doing you a favor if we let you volunteer here. And it's just like, and then I couldn't do science, which was my passion. And I had no love in my life, and no one would date me. And it's just like, it's very weird because it's like, I hate when people say it, but it's just like, I am not an ugly person, and I do have a lot to offer. And it's just like, that's why I have such a high caliber partner, is because it's like, I am attractive, I am smart, I am able to converse, I am able to sympathize, I am able to be emotionally connected, I am smart, and it's just like, and driven and motivated. And it's just like, I don't know why I wasn't able to do it, but in my opinion, I was slandered and smeared in the so-called quote-unquote gay community, which is another thing I hate. Gay community? BS. That's not a thing. Now we're gonna change gears really heavily. Remember when I said like I felt like I was being in a coffin lowered into the ground, and with that dirt slipping through the cracks as I was trapped in there? That narrative made me mad. That narrative had to go. And it was around August of 2019 that I fucking rejected that with every single fiber of my being. And thus, Evyx was truly created, and I kicked and thumped and beat on the walls of that coffin with every single ounce of strength that I had, screaming until my lungs collapsed. I wasn't going to die this way. I fucking refuse. And I reject where I'm at. Like, I reject it absolutely. I'm not gonna die this way. I'm gonna fight. And directly, the punching and kicking in that translates into me learning editing and me learning how to speak again. And you know what's really funny is when you spend so long not talking, it becomes really, really hard to pronounce words correctly. That's why when I say like Delubrium reganae, that is a frigging nightmare word to pronounce because I didn't talk for so long. But I was going to get into logos, I was going to get icons, I was going to get music, I was going to get a Discord server. I which, for the record, I couldn't get the music for, and like I have a flat out intro with no music or sound effects because, which obviously everyone knows because on every video there's no like intro sound. I didn't have the money, still don't. But this Evyx, this is my Hail Mary. The website that's coming out is my Hail Mary. The stream is my Hail Mary. This is me beating on the walls of that coffin being lowered into the ground, screaming at the top of my lungs, saying, "You're not gonna kill me, you're not gonna kill me, I'm gonna survive." Once again, begging God, help me, God, save me, do fucking anything to save me from this nightmare. I'm still not strong enough. I'm still not strong enough. God, help me, please. I'm begging you, help me. And here we are. I know I still haven't hit even 10k subscribers, but I don't think anyone gets just how much from the depths of my soul that I mean it when I say I appreciate every single comment. I appreciate every single like. I appreciate every single view. It is so bizarre to me after everything I've been through. I don't think anyone will get it unless they've listened to this video from start to finish. I'm beyond grateful for this community. I know how many, know how many people listened to me after my penetrative R when I was screaming for help? My mom. And my dad's sister. No one else gave me a single ounce of their time. I was really out there in a void, and to think that now I'm somehow getting like 10k views a day when no one would even back in the day turn around to help me when I was at my lowest is just mind-blowing. And sure, oh my god, I need to say this because someone's gonna say it. I get it. I'm not an Asmongold. Okay, congratulations, I get it. But it's just like, I'm insignificant still, but you know what? For someone who is a victim of non-consensual penetrative R, who has been through trauma galore, who has had their life shattered over and over again, where the glass pieces have been shattered and stepped on and stomped on into the dirt so many times that they are not even, you just dust. This to me is insane. This is truly more than I could have ever expected. And for me, it's like, I did this on my own. No one helped teach me how to edit or do tags or meta or thumbnails. In fact, I just changed my thumbnail structure actually recently again, and probably will continue to in the future. I built this though on my own with the love and kindness of my supporters, and as someone who was totally defeated before, that is something I am so fucking proud of. And so I mean it when I said this video is my own selfish personal little flag I'm going to plant into the ground of this channel. I made it, I'm alive, and I'm not doing as well as I could have hoped for. Like, if I was a kid and someone said this is how you'd end up, I'd be like, wow, that's a dog shit. But I'm here, I'm covered in more scars and bruises than I think anyone could ever fully appreciate, including myself, but I'm here and I'm moving forward with my life. It's not traditional, it's not conventional, and it sure isn't easy, but I'm alive. And I'm excited to move on to the next steps in my life. It's about to be my birthday, and no, I didn't join the 27 club. I'm alive.